And continuing on with Phillis Wheatley, there are a couple poems that I really want you to take special note of. The first is that very short one on page 789 on being brought from Africa to America. Um, "'Twas mercy brought me from my pagan land, taught me my benighted soul to understand that there's a God, that there's a Savior too. Once I redemption neither sought nor knew. Some view our sable race with scornful eye. Their color is a diabolic dye. Remember Christians, Negroes, black as Cain, may be refined and join the angelic train." A couple things to point out here. Um, First of all, structurally, this poem is written in iambic pentameter, and a very, very well metered iambic pentameter. Remember, that's a light or unstressed foot, and then a strong or stressed foot. "'Twas mercy brought me from my pagan land, taught my benighted soul to understand." Now, the neoclassicists really did like iambic pentameter, but you probably have some recollection from it of it from Shakespeare, where it really, started to gain powerful traction in English literature. A couple things to point out here is that she does talk about converting to Christianity here, and she talks about their sable race or black or dark race uh, being a diabolic dye, and also refers to um, African Americans as being black as Cain. What's important to keep in mind here is that a couple of different things. Some people interpreted the Bible and the story of Cain and Abel in very racially tinged way. At the end of the story between Cain and Abel, in case you don't know it, they're both sons of Adam and Eve, and Cain always hated his brother. He hated him as long as he was able. And he did that because Abel always had the best sacrifices, and the smoke went straight to heaven, and Cain's did not. He did not sacrifice his best agricultural or uh, animals for burnt sacrifice, as was custom of the time. So God finds out, of course, and then Cain gets marked. It's sometimes called the Mark of Cain in other parts of the Bible or Christian literature, but some people have interpreted the Mark of Cain to mean that his skin was all turned dark. And you can see, the implications of that kind of statement. It reinforces this very powerful sense of racism, and really intertwines it with the Christian tradition. Even the view that the color, even the idea that their color is a diabolic dye, goes back to an earlier, more medieval representation of the devil in paintings, especially, as being black in color, just like not even brown, but just black. But that's still a correlation with dark skin being evil. So there's all of this visual representation and iconography that we have to deal with. We're trying to sort out the politics of color at this time, and how it continues to be a thread going through cultural artifacts of our current time. Interestingly enough, and I may have already brought this up, if so, sorry about that, representations of the devil as red become more popular after the discovery of the New World and Native Americans. So that red-skinned tint also gets associated with another race outside of the hegemony. So very, very curious politics of tone going on. The other poem I'd really like you to have special focus on is "To the Right Honorable William, Earl of Dartmouth, His Majesty's Principal Secretary for the State of North America." And here you once again see that elevated style. and she basically accuses him of not taking the chance to give the colonies um, not necessarily freedom from the British Empire, but a sense of justice and right. She pretty much accuses him in the politest possible terms of missing the boat and missing his chance. And she pretty much implies that if he were a generous spirit, this generosity would want freedom for these people, and that includes all colonists and all humans in general. So once again, we see that larger notion of universal human rights. She also has a very fantastic poem about General Washington, George Washington, on page 796. And once again, it's an ode to a general for military victory, but also military victory in the service of justice and what is right. And we can almost see an analog between this poem and to Anne Bradstreet's poem, to the high and mighty Queen of England. I'm butchering the title, but that very long poem, which is an ode not only to Queen Elizabeth, but to all other queens as well, for their military victories, but also for their strength as leaders and pursuing what is right and good. Now, again, she is making these odes in a way to not only praise certain leaders, but to praise the ideals that she sees those leaders representing. And notice that, only one of these poems that I've had you look at, the very short, on being brought from Africa to America, really mentions race. But this is an important mention of race early on. And it's something we're going to see a lot more of in both are African American writers, but in writers who are not African American, but are espousing these universal human rights ideals. These are still issues that are with us today, and I think all of us, having lived through, the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and other people, certainly notice that there is a sense of double standard as far as the justice system goes, and that there is a different sense of what is America beyond two different people, because of two different groups of people, due to institutionalized racism. I don't know if you've been watching the HBO series Lovecraft Country, but it's a really fantastic series based on a book, which I haven't read, but it explores horror in the very literal H.P. Lovecraft sense, in terms of monsters from different dimensions or of grotesque nature and form doing gross, gory things. But it also brings another sense of horror to it, and that's the horror of the prejudice and persecution of African Americans during that time. So it's interweaving these two kinds of narratives together. And I think it does so very, very successfully for the most part. And it talks about and discusses issues of Blackness through lots of different characters, through masculinity, through femininity, through queerness. So you get lots of different lenses through which to view the institutional and social racism of the era. It brings up a lot of questions. It's well acted, and I think it's an interesting take. Sometimes genre fiction is seen so often as, white or devoted to one kind of group and not another. And I think Lovecraft Country does a really good job of showing its inflection through all kinds of different peoples. So anyway, check that out if you want. I think that's all. Oh, one more thing. We did talk a little bit about Phillis Wheatley's structure and iambic pentameter. I probably should have done this before I went into it. Iambic pentameter, very well known by most people through Shakespeare, but it represents a rhythm that we often hear in our everyday life. Some people think, oh, nobody ever talks like that. That's silly. But there are lots of different ways that you can use it. This is one of my favorite online comics, xkcd.com. And you've got these two characters, and one of them saying all of his responses in iambic pentameter. What time can you pick Michael up? Well, I can meet the plane at 10 of 6. Do you know where to find him? I'll meet him at the stairs before the gate. Well, I can meet the plane at 10 of 6. I'll meet him at the stairs before the gate. My hobby, answering casual questions in iambic pentameter. You too can do it. Practice it up. It's funny. I mean, it's, word nerd funny, but it gave me a chuckle. Great comic, all about language, science, physics, social issues. It's got a great one on politics and what free speech really means, climate change, love, relationships. It's all over the place. Fantastic stuff. Check it out.